Hello and welcome everyone to one of our weekly webinars. Our conversation today is all about meetings and how to run effective meetings that are hopefully a little bit more fun inside of Coda. So if you don't know who I am, my name is Maria Marquis, and here at Coda, I consider myself the Chief Cheerleading Officer because I love just celebrating, making, thinking, playing, tinkering, and really just celebrating the creativity that I see in our Coda community. So today, like I said, we're going to be focusing on meetings and the best practices to really help them come alive and giving you a couple ingredients you can start to use. Hey, Alex, so good to see you, buddy. Welcome, welcome. So how to get in touch with me today, because I love to talk, but I love to talk with people even more. So there's two ways that you can get in touch with me as we work together. The first is right over there on the right side of the screen, that chat field, which Karina, Alex have already found because they're absolute professionals. That's a place where you can post anything that's on your mind, comments, ideas. That's our public conversation. If you have a question today, though, what I would ask is that you use the Ask a Question button along the bottom of the screen. That way, I'll be able to see everything. It won't get lost in our chat conversations. And you can upvote and downvote questions so that I answer the most pressing conversations first. So those are the two ways to get in touch. And there's no such thing as an interruption in my virtual sessions. You just let me know what's going on and we'll go ahead and address it. I've also included a link to the starter doc that I'm going to be sharing with all of you here today. So to get us kicked off, I'd love to know, go ahead, post a chat for me. What is your biggest challenge when it comes to running an effective meeting? What's your biggest challenge? Because hopefully I can give you some solutions and ideas there. Hey, totally, Alex, time management. Maybe you've got some folks who have a lot to say and you end up going over time. Got it. Thanks, Alex. Perfect. Rest of the group, what other challenges do you have when it comes to that? Creating an effective task agenda, right? What are we actually going to talk about? Defining the next steps. Beautiful, Adam. Hey, prep time. Got it, David. Yeah. Oh, got it. Yeah, if you work as a parliamentarian, profoundly difficult because everybody has their specific time that they're working on. Hey, Neil, welcome. Adding those good action items. Beautiful. Excellent. Perfect. So keep those thoughts coming because my hope is that we can actually give you some things that you can start to add to your practice. Totally, Karina. Keeping people on track without being rude. Sometimes we just need to be like, shh, stop. Got it. Exactly. David's with you. So the way I want to sort of position our conversation today is I want you to imagine that we're getting ready to cook something. We're getting ready to cook dinner for everybody. And I'm going to show you a bunch of different ingredients that you can use to cook dinner. And then depending on the dietary restrictions, sort of the food that you're interested in, people's favorites, you're going to be able to cook something new with these different ingredients that I'm sharing with you. And I'll give you a couple starter recipes at the end. Clearly, I'm a little bit hungry today right now. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. You should see it in just a moment. When you can see my screen, let me know by posting yes, looks good, I can see it, some kind of signal there in chat. Beautiful, thank you. Karina, best screen ever. You know it, Alex. Also, do I need to zoom in at all? Would anybody like me to zoom in? Or does this feel pretty good? A little bit? You got it, of course. Not a problem. Perfection. There we go. So this is what we fondly call our team meeting starter kit. And this is going to be the pantry with all of the ingredients that we can cook from. So in the first part of it, and I've of course included the link over there in chat, we've got just a little bit of kind of brainstorming ideas, things to keep in mind. But I'm going to go ahead and open up the left side of the screen where we've got all of our pages. And notice we've organized this into 3 different pieces. Number 1, meeting planning. So how do we actually plan what we should talk about? Then how do we actually run the meeting? So in the meeting, what should we do? And then focusing on follow-up. How can we close the loop on those different meetings? And I'm going to share all of these with you right now. Also, just a reminder here today, you don't need to wait for me to stop talking. Whatever's on your mind, I want to know about it by posting to chat or using Ask a Question. Either one works for me. So let's first start off with the idea of the pre-meeting prep. So before the meeting, what we need to do is we need to really understand for ourselves, what do I actually need to do, right? Really focusing on our own personal side of things. And I'm actually going to jump over to, I made a copy of this doc for myself right over here, and we're going to jump on in so we can actually work with my own. So one of the things that we can do to really make sure we're prepared is by connecting our Google Calendar to Coda with what's called the Google Calendar Pack. And if you use this template, you can just go ahead and synchronize right here just by clicking that little sync button. But if you're brand new, if you have never used that before, you can always go over to your Explore area. I'm going to search for Pack. Ta-da, Packs and Import right there. And Google Calendar is one of them you can use. You log in once, and then it's automatically connected here to your Coda doc. And here, what I've actually done is I've made a table that automatically pulls in all of my events for the week. So here you can see we are right now inside of webinar meetings. We are here now. And notice we have the start and the end time, and I can go ahead and mark the priority here, right? So I could see, ooh, like what is the priority of all of these different tasks? So this allows me to very quickly see for this week, what do I need to focus on? What are my notes? And what are my priority tasks? Which one of these do I need to make sure that I really focus on when I'm working? Because, for example, I could go over here and I could sort by my priority, right? Seeing the most important things first, yeah? I could also decide, you know what, I just want to see my 5-star tasks. So what I could do is I'm just going to go ahead, make a little space for myself, type /. I'm going to choose table. And pre-meeting prep is one of those I can choose right here. And under my filter, right on the side, I can add a nice little filter. I can sync by priority, and I can say it's at least 4 stars. Now it's going to show me everything that meets that criteria. So I can say, all right, these are my high priority meetings. And I've got all of that right here for myself. And it's just automatically going to fill in with all of the new things that I have. So here, if we think about this, this just allows me to pull my calendar into a really valuable spot. Now let's imagine that some of you are working in teams. Here, I've just decided to sync my own Google Calendar here, but I could decide that I want to sync in a team calendar, or maybe I want to sync in a couple people's calendars. I can do all of that right here by having all of that in one spot. And this is just my starter bit. Maybe I don't want to see the start and the end date. Maybe that's just not important to me. I can head up here to my columns and say, go invisible, go invisible. And then I can even add some more columns here. Like maybe I want to tag my meetings so I know the type that they are. I can just go ahead and add this column. I could add a select list. I'm just going to make a new one. Or maybe we'll call this team stand-up, personal, one-on-one, focus, however you want to classify your work, right? And now we have this little handy little drop-down menu. Cool, this is a team stand-up, this is personal, this is one-on-one. And if you wanted to go one step further, you can even color code this, right? Maybe you want to say anything that's a team stand-up, I want to see it highlighted in green. Well, not a problem. We just head over here to our options, go to our nice little conditional format right here. We can add a nice little rule and say the select list, if it's a team stand-up, I want it to be blue, and we want it to apply to all the columns. So now we've got all of that looking good. Ooh, we've got a question. Let's go ahead and take a look. Nice. Good question. You have access to team calendars via Pack. So here you would just have to log into them, right? So in this case, I decided to authenticate with my regular Google account. But what I could do is go back here, Packs and Import, Google Calendar, go to my settings, and I could choose to change the account here, right? I could add another one to this doc. Yeah, great question, Karina. Perfect. You just need to make sure it is something you can sign into. That's the big there. Ooh, others in the team. So that would be if you're trying to log into other people's calendars in the team, they would have to be able to sort of log in there. You could add a shared account here in this spot. But in general, I would like to kind of keep it really simple. Yeah. One of the things I might do is I might add their calendars to kind of a master team calendar and then just sync in that master team calendar to keep it a little bit cleaner. That's how I like to do it. Let me know if that helps, Karina. Yeah, for sure. So this is that first step, right? Just getting an understanding of like, what are we doing? How might I want this all to look and feel? So we can connect the calendar to the doc itself. And you can always add a filter on these little guys just by going to filter, or notice here, we can actually edit the syncing. And because the Google Calendar Pack is really fun, you can decide what's the date range you're looking for. The next 7 days, the next 30 days, just tomorrow, next month, the present, maybe I just want to see this week, right? I can go ahead and do that as well. So you can really adjust this to be however you like, And then just make sure you click sync now, boom, 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 and you're all ready to rock and roll. And the nice thing about the doc that I've shared with all of you over there in chat is you can just go ahead and add it right in without worrying about it. So it's going to go ahead and sync on in there. Yeah, great call out, Karina. You can actually make changes to your calendar from Coda, right? So maybe what I want to do is maybe I want to create kind of a way to add an event, right? Maybe I want to do something new. So let's actually make some space here. We're going to go and say add a subpage, add events. I'm going to make a little table. And maybe I want to have this be events to add. Here's my name, people, and then here's our add event button. So what we could do is we could go ahead and make a column here from the dropdown, change our column type to be a handy little button. And because we've already added that Google Calendar, we actually have the ability to add a button here, right? So we could say create an event, and we could have it be creating the event for me, and I can choose the start and the end date based on whatever's in this column. So how I actually have seen this work really well is people can actually sign up to want to talk with you, right? Maybe I'm a coach, and people can fill out a form being like, hey, I'd like to talk to you. I can have that form populate this table. And then when I'm saying, yeah, I'm ready to talk to them, I can click on this little button and it'll add that to my calendar event and invite them along for the ride, which is pretty cool. Yeah. So lots of ways we can use this Google Calendar pack, because not only can we pull in, we can also push out. Now, a lot of you mentioned that agendas are really important. And I totally agree, because anytime I go to a meeting and there's not an agenda, I get a little bit like, what are we doing? So when we think about agendas, there's kind of two different pieces we want to have: topics and also our people, right? Who's going to be there? So I'm going to scroll on down to my favorite part of this, which is an agenda topic gatherer. Because when we think about running a meeting, we don't want to be the only person who's running it, right? We want to know what is really important for everybody to look at. We want to make sure everyone's involved. So here we can actually crowdsource a meeting agenda using this handy little template here. So in this case, I've got an idea. I can add a topic. Maybe the topic is going to be ways to use Google Calendar in our meetings with Coda. I should probably spell the company's name right. And now it's added right there. And notice we can have it be upvoted and it automatically sorts. And in this case, we've already talked about this topic, so it's been crossed out. So how this is working is we have a button that adds to this particular table. So if we right click on this little guy, we can see, great, add a row to today's agenda. And it's just creating that row automatically for me. And then we've got the idea, is it discussed? We have a button that adds a little count. And we also have the decision. So there's lots of ways that we can really make this come alive. And the thing I like about the today's agenda is it's actually a template in Coda. So I could say topic voting, random topic selector, rolling meeting topics table. This would be great. Here we go. Add a topic. There it is. We can go ahead and add those things in there. So you don't have to start from scratch. You can always be working on that however you like. Just a reminder here today, if you've got questions, I want to know about it, feel free to just let me know by posting to chat. Also, remember this handy little meeting starter kit. It's got everything in here that we're talking about, so you can actually just steal it and just go ahead and work with it from there, even after the fact. So when you think about preparing for meetings, are there any other challenges that you have? Go ahead, post a chat for me. Any other starter challenges? Attendance tracking. Ooh, cool, Alex. I like this. So if we think about attendance tracking, we can think about this in a couple different ways. The first one is kind of an RSVP, right? I'm going to be there. And then the second one is who was actually there for the meeting. So for an RSVP, what I would probably do, let's go ahead and just remove this here. I'm going to go ahead and choose to add a subpage, RSVP, Respondez, s'il vous plaît, for July 30th, right? And I'm actually going to use a template called the I've read this template. So I'm going to type / and done reading button is what it's called. And now we've got a handy little thing here. So it just says done reading, which I could do by typing. Done. I cannot type today. Done reading. And then I did a little reaction template. So I just click on this and notice it puts my name in there. So this is what's called a reaction. So notice here, we've just choose to name it done reading. We've chosen this icon and we decided to include the person's little figure there, but we could also change it to be a number, which just lets me know how many people or none. But here, this one probably works best. And I could make it medium, I can make it large, right? Whatever we like. If I wanted to do that from scratch, I just do reaction. It pulls it up here. You can search for any icon, right? Maybe I want to do pizza. Everybody who knows me knows that I want to eat pizza. Look at this happy little pizza. And you can go ahead and just add that in here, right, like so. So that'd be one thing you could do. You could get the list of all the people as the RSVP. Now, if you're looking for attendance tracking, we can do this inside as a one-off or over time. Alex, do you just need to know attendance tracking for each individual, or do you need to see over time as well? I'd love to know. Go ahead and post a chat. Over time? Cool. So let me just check this question, just make sure. Got it. David, I'll cover your question next. So if we want to do attendance over time, here what we can do is we can think about what's the most important part. So the most important part of tracking attendance over time is the person, right? We want to know the person and then when have they been there? Because each time they attend kind of describes them. So what I would probably do is I would go table, so I type /, it pulls up everything I can do a little table here. And we're going to do, oh, I made a view by accident. Oops, that's all right. Everything's editable. We'll do a table. We're going to make a new one. And this can be attendance. And here, this would be the person. And then this would be each date, right? So like January, February. And what you could do is you could have them be in there. And then you could do this in a couple different ways. You could just do a checkbox, right? So maybe we want to change the column type to be a nice little checkbox, just like that. This one will change that column type to be a checkbox. And you could then duplicate these columns moving forward so you didn't have to worry about doing that over and over again. Also, everybody, you can freeze columns now. How exciting is that? And then you'd have the person here, which could just be their name, right? Maria, Alex, Karina, and then you could check them off, just like that, and have it be over time there. You could also have this kind of roll through the months. So maybe you wanted to group by month and be able to see them there. So that's just a couple thoughts there, Alex. Let me know how that feels for you. But I would probably do it this way because then you could go ahead and see each individual person. You could get the number of times people have attended and go from there. Yeah, cool. Yeah, perfect. I love this, Alex. So members are not able to miss 5 meetings or they face disciplinary action. So let's actually just duplicate this. Let me find that here. Duplicate with the values. And we're going to duplicate as an empty column. And we're going to duplicate as an empty column. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So let's imagine, sorry, Alex, disciplinary action is going to need to happen. You could then do a formula to see, okay, who might require disciplinary action. So you could do equals attendance. So show me the attendance table. Then I want to filter where blank, let's see. Well, actually, don't do a formula here. Now that I've thought about it, let's just do a little a view. So here, maybe we want to see everybody who's got that kind of number here. You could just then do a view saying who has 5 things checked, 5 or greater checked, and then be able to work through there. So that might be something to do. Yeah. Cool. All right. So David has a really great question. Let's take a look. All right, David, what is the best practice for maintenance of agendas like this? Say you're doing this for 5 to 10 meetings a week. Is each meeting a subpage, a row, or a table? Or do you clear each agenda post-meeting as a habit to keep the doc from bloating? David, first of all, I love that you're thinking about how do we think about how this doc grows? So in general, what I like to do is I like to have these agenda tables for each individual meeting. Why that is because I'm going to be kind of changing my context for every single meeting, right? And we want to make sure that everybody who's part of that meeting has the ability to contribute to it and to be able to work through that in a way. So generally what I like to do, what my team does, so this is what we actually do on the team that I'm part of. Let's go ahead and make it. We have our team meetings. And then I would create a subpage for, all hands stand up. And then I would make a subpage for tag up 2. And I'd make a subpage for tag up 1. So now over here, we've got all of our team meetings, right? And in the top, I would make a table, make a new one, which would be our agenda, like all the action items. And then one of these could be the meeting. I'm going to actually make a little select list here. Bear with me. So our select list options, this is going to be all hands, tag up 1, and tag up 2. And this could be the topic. And this could be notes. And now we could still do that little button that adds things to the table. So we do slash, nice little button here. This button is going to be add a topic. The action is going to be to add a row to that handy little table down there. I think we called it agenda items. Yes. And now what we do is we say which meeting it's for, right? All hands, tag up 1, tag up 2, topic 1, topic 2, topic 3. And then what we can do is we can create a view of that agenda table and filter by the meeting we're in. So I'm going to do table. We're going to make it a view of the agenda table. And we're going to filter, we're in all hands stand up, where the meeting is all hands stand up. And we could do the same for all these other ones. So you have one big table, and then we're filtering it based on the meeting that we're in, so we can kind of allow ourselves to see. So in this case, these would be recurring meetings, but we do the same thing here at Coda for our one-offs, right? Here's what we're going to be talking about for this. What else should people be adding? Got it, Alex. Maria, it looks like both of our fingers are not typing the correct things that our brains are telling them this afternoon. I know usually I teach in the morning. And so afternoon, who knows? My brain is just a little bit fried. I should probably have more of this handy Coca-Cola. So David, let me know if that helps clarify things and what we're looking at there. But you're going to have that one big table of all the agenda items, and then you can filter by that here. I have been on vacation, Neil. I have no excuse. Ooh, good question. So are all of your one-off or recurring meetings are using a single doc over time? Great question. So my team, I'll speak to what we do. For all of our recurring meetings, we have one team doc, and we use that for the notes for all of our team meetings and use that as our kind of main area. Then for our different tag ups, we'll also have kind of our own kind of tag up central doc, which we use for kind of that smaller tiger team, but we link them together being like, oh, I want to jump over here. For our one-offs, we'll just kind of spin up a quick Coda doc by just doing one of my favorite tricks, which is typing coda.new, and it opens up a brand new doc. And now we have that we can use for that kind of one-off bit. But here, when we're thinking about this agenda, this topic voting, if you will, right, under the remote meeting agenda here, this is very much for kind of that recurring meeting there. Yeah. Does that help clarify things? It's a great question, David. I love that. Nice. Yeah, for sure. The other thing that I'll say is, each team kind of finds their specific way they like to do things. My team, it's very much egalitarian, very crowdsourcing. So we use this agenda bit a lot. There are some other teams that I use where it's like, we just type in what our agenda is, and that's going to be the thing that we do and not necessarily move forward from there. Yeah. Ooh, good question, Alex. Could we have a printed agenda with legal verbiage? Would it be able to make a print view to export to PDF? Why, yes, indeed. So here we've got our agenda. Maybe we want to have this be printed out. What we could do is we could just go right up here to the ... print PDF. We could choose export to PDF right here or print it directly, and that'll automatically format. You can then choose recently, let me pull this up again. Not under print, sorry. If we go to print and PDF, export to PDF, you can now choose landscape or portrait, depending on what you like, and then choose the size that you're looking for. Yeah, so that could be something you could do there. Great question, Alex. So I think we're kind of getting naturally into the how to run effective meetings. And these are some of my favorite tricks. And David, some of these might spark some ideas for you there as well. So when we think about running an effective meeting, one of the things that we do here at Coda, we have tons of people remote. So even before 2020, we had people all over the United States. And now as of 2021, we've got some folks in Europe, which is really exciting. So what that means is we had to get really good at how we engage everybody in a meeting for people who are around the world, because people may not be able to attend because it might be in the middle of the night for them. We need to be able to make sure everyone can be heard, and it's not just the loudest voice in the room, which is usually me, and really allowing us to stay on track. So here are a couple different tools that we can add to our toolbox. The team sentiment tracker is one that we use here all the time at Coda for everything. How was your weekend? How are you feeling about the week? How do you feel about this project? What do you feel about our decision here, right? Ooh, and timer is coming your way, Alex, do not worry. But what this allows us to do is have a nice little button that just adds a row of like, hey, how are you feeling? Oh, I'm feeling great, but I can't type, right? So now that gets added here and we can see how everybody's doing. Now, those of you with sharp eyes have probably noticed that this has a very similar structure to what we saw in that remote meeting agenda, right? A button that adds a row where people can put information. But we've done a couple of things that are a little bit different here. The first thing we've done is instead of just having it be a general area where people can upvote, downvote, we've included what's called a scale column, which if I go over here to choose new, number, scale is one of the options, and I've chosen to have it be a nice little happy face right here. Then we've had this little reflection area. We have who it's been submitted by, and then an extra little column here. We can put whatever we like. One thing I love, though, about this sentiment is, what if I'm in a meeting and Shashir feels amazing about it? Shashir is our CEO. I might be more inclined to also feel great about it because Shashir is our CEO. So one thing that we do to prevent a lot of bias coming into play is we'll do two things. The first is we'll hide who it was submitted by. And the second is we have this little checkbox that filters how everybody feels about it. So right now I want to see everybody's, but maybe I just want to see mine. This allows me to just add my own sentiment and nothing else. I put it in there fresh. And then when we're ready to reveal, boom, I'm able to see it. And we could then open up the columns as well and see who submitted it all. So a really nice way for us to bring that in. My team has also added different columns to this basic template of what song are you listening to right now, and also an image column of any pictures from the weekend. So you could go here to the plus sign, choose you want to go to image and files, you want to upload an image. You could go ahead and then add something directly from your phone. For example, I'm going to go here, I'm going to click that plus sign. I have a great picture of my dog from the weekend. I could add it in there. Oh, but it's in the HEIC format rather than a JPEG. So I can't add it right now, but I could. So it allows you to just, again, customize this to be able to get that pulse of how everybody's doing. So that's one that really, really love. Then there's a voting table. So we've already seen kind of the idea of adding a topic, but here we're actually counting the votes and the upvotes. So I could say, great, I'm voting for all of these. And notice it shows me there. This is really, really great anytime you want to vote on an idea or give a little bit of detail there. The next thing that I really appreciate is the I like, I wish. So this was actually created, really sort of socialized by one of our designers here. Her name is Helena. She's amazing. And this is a way for us to structure brainstorming in a meeting. So we're choosing these sentence starters, I like or I wish. Maybe we want to add one, which is I am hungry for ... Give it a little bit of color here. I always connect orange with hungry. And then we've got it nice and organized by all of our feedback. So I could say, oh, great, I want to add some feedback here. This is, I wish I could type better. And notice we can kind of applaud. This is very similar to what we saw earlier with that upvoting, right? But here we're just not sorting the table by that. You could then also add a new row. And instead of for it being the I wish, I could change the sentence starter to be I'm hungry for pizza. Yeah. And add it in there. And now it's all filtered and sorted around. So this is great anytime you want to do that brainstorming or get more structured feedback in those meetings. Ooh, we got a good question. Let's take a look. To be clear, are we using permissions on the page so the viewers can only add columns for sentiment but can't unhide columns? Great question. So when it comes to the control that we have here on this page and the voting table, what we could do is we could change the locking settings. Or wait, sorry, you were referring to team sentiment. Let's take a look. So what we could do is we could change the locking on this particular column by going here, going to locking, and choosing the interact only option, which would allow people to use buttons, controls, and forms and add rows, but they wouldn't be able to do anything else here. So that's something we could do. Honestly, with this bias bit and the column hiding, unhiding, it's not sort of a formal, absolutely preventing bias, because if I'm an editor, I could unlock this page and be able to take a look at the columns, but it does allow for a bit of, I would think about it as a guardrail. But that locking of the interact only does allow for a lot, because if I come in here, I'm only able to push that button and add a row to the table. But the settings here, if I'm not an editor, I can't temporarily unlock. So you could decide to shift this around if you like. So it'd be something to think about there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course. Yeah, great question. Mm-hmm. Love it. Keep it coming. Keep it coming. But the nice thing about the I like, I wish is, again, you can change all of these, right? This is editable. So I could say, I love. I could say, I hate, right? And then like we saw with I'm hungry for, you can add as many as you like here. So just to, again, notice how all of that is coming through. I love, I hate, all of that. Now, the timer. This one's really important for us here at Coda, because here at Coda, we love to talk. As you can probably tell from spending some time with me, talking is critical. And as we've grown, we found that it's more and more important for us to be mindful of our time, right? There's now 150 of us now. So we need to be really mindful of how we do this. So this timer, which again, you can add to your doc just by doing / and choosing timer right here, be able to add that just like so. You can now decide that you want to change things around. So maybe we want to set the timer for 10 minutes. That's how much time you get. We can choose to start. And then notice it says, how much time do you have left? So it's now counting down, and we can have that be there. So if you have a timekeeper, you can put that in that spot. I also like it because then we can just choose to reset it. And you can just decide, maybe I want to set the timer for 5 minutes. And you can adjust all of that here. So this is great to add to a page or to even add to a row. Right? You maybe want to add a timer on each topic and having that be there. So something to think about. But this is really helpful anytime you have that time bit. And notice we've made this nice and big, but you can make this like a H1, right? Have that be projected on the screen if you're sharing in that case, having all the topics you're going through. So just something to think about. Love the timer bit. Now we also have this simple meeting notes. And I'm going to show you another model that I really like. But this is one that I just think is really valuable because it lets you know what are the action items, have we talked about it or not? And then a basic agenda. Who are we, what's happening, who are the attendees, what are the notes that we've got all here? Now let's say that we actually want to be a little bit more structured. Maybe we want to start organizing our notes in more of a table instead of just having it be this kind of infinite scroll. Now, infinite scroll, totally fine. And if you like, you can always go to the page options, toggle on the outline, which allows you to then very easily see like all the different bits and jump right to them. But maybe you don't want to do that. So one thing that we actually do here at Coda on my team is we create a little notes repository table. So I'm going to just show you how we do this. / choose table. Ta-da! We're going to make a net new one. We'll call it the notes repository. And this will be the date, notes, the attendees. So now what we can do is we just change our columns around. So this is now, instead of a text column, we're going to make it a date. And then notes is just going to be text. Attendees, we're going to change this column type and make it people. And I'm going to go ahead and adjust my people options so that multiple people can be added here. Huzzah, they're all now here. And now how it works is in the actual meeting time, we just type it right here. We just type all in this area. So I could be like, yes, my favorite magic trick is the cards ones, right? Then at the end of the meeting, what we do is we just go ahead and select all of this. Actually, we'll just select here. We do Command X, and then we just double click in the notes. We paste it in. It's now all there. We have the date. It's today's date. And now we just kind of hide that column if we want. But the cool thing about this is, and Karina knows I'm going to go there, we can actually add a text search on this. So I could say, great, I want to filter this. I want to add an interactive filter. I'm going to create control. And now I have a little note right up here at the top. And we can search for what were all the meetings where we mentioned magic. And it's going to pull it up here. And you can then just double click on that, be able to open it up nice and big and see all the details. So I like this because it allows us to have something a little bit more structured. And then we can just decide, do we want to see all of this right away? Or do we want to add another filter where we filter by the date? Right? So the date is equal to, this week or whatever we like. So it's a way to kind of make that shift if you want to do structured. But again, nothing wrong with the infinite scroll. I just recommend making sure you add that outline there. Ooh, got it, David. One challenge I've had, you add action items for all of these meetings, but the individual employees manage their personal tasks disparately. Maybe they use Coda, maybe they use a PM software. Basic point, advice on achieving an analog of a singular task view of disparate personal tasks as team members may be used to what they're already coming from, Asana, Rike, etc. So you bring up a great point, David. And as someone who's worked in the tech space for over a decade, tool fatigue is real, right? I get that. Yeah. So here's what I recommend. There's two kind of approaches. The first is, number one, to make it really easy for people to see what they need to do. So the first really easy way, I'm going to go here to new. Oh, goodness. I'm going to go ahead and make a new page. We're going to call this My Action Items. And I'm going to go slash. And action items, I think, is one of those tables that we have. Let's find it. We'll make a little table. Meeting topics, action items. What did we call it? I think it was agenda. This is why it's important to name your tables better. That was not the right one. Let's jump back to, I think it was in our notes area. Simple meeting notes. This is called, let's find it, options. Show me the table headline. Column headers. Oh, did I hide it here? Yes. Shish kebab. Boom. We just called it table one. That's silly. Action items. So now if we go to my action items, slash table, we're going to make a view of action items. And here we've got this owner area. We're going to name this my action items. And I'm going to choose to filter this where the owner is equal to the current user. So this is only going to show me the action items I have. In this case, I've got none to do, right? But if one was added in that handy little simple meeting notes area, Maria needs to order pizza. This is going to be for me, Maria Marquis. And I head over to my action items. There it is. So I see all of that. So it's one place right here for me to go. The other thing you could do is you could just make sub pages for each person and filter by the exact person instead of by the owner. But that's one thing to think about. The other one that I always recommend is sometimes when it comes to individuals, right, they're going to manage their own tasks in their own way, and that may be last to come into a new tool. But if you can have all of the sort of team information consolidated in one spot, it allows you when you're in those meetings to go, all right, are these things done? Or, hey, before the meeting, update your stuff so we know what's going on. So I generally like to focus on the minimum viable product of my meeting, which is what are the action items that are coming from it, so we can come back to it in like an old business, new business kind of thing. Yeah. Got it, David. I've generally taken the approach of absolving responsibility of each stakeholder managing the task in the appropriate tables, but the meeting owner being the potential responsible party. Not ideal, but of course, wishing for that adoption. Yeah, but this is one thing, I always think that people are busy, which makes them lazy. So if we can make it really easy and like a no-brainer of like, where do I go to get my stuff? It's right here, then I can come through. The other thing that I would recommend is having Coda become your intern here, or your administrative assistant, rather. So here, what we could do is we could send an automation, and the add rule would be when I would make this before the meeting starts. This is another thing we do on our team to update the status. We come here, maybe our team meeting is at 11, so we're going to send it out at 9. And here I could say then notify, or send a Slack message. That's another thing you can do, or send an email. And I could have this be to everybody that I wanted to. I can make it specific users if I wanted to, and just put all the people in here that are part of the doc. Yeah. And then the message could be, please update your action items before the meeting. Thanks. So at least you get that reminder for folks to take that to change themselves. So that's something that we do on our team. We have this actually send a Slack to everybody so that they're reminded of it. Otherwise, we forget. Yeah, so that's something to think about. Mm-hmm. Cool. So now let's think about meeting follow-up. The 2 ingredients I have here. Number 1 is the decision memo. And this is something, I'm glad that'll help. This is something that we use to document decisions, because maybe, I was on vacation last week. I wasn't there when we talked about what we're going to do with this certain thing. But because of this decision log, I can see why we're making those decisions. So of course we have our too long didn't read. Then we have the context, the problem, options considered, our proposed decision. So it just very quickly documents all of those things, and it's all right here in our team meeting. And what we can do is we can just say, maybe we just made another decision. I just click here on the little ... I duplicate this. We could say this is the decision memo about pizza toppings, right? We can put everything in here just like we saw before. And then you can even just drag and drop these handy little pages around. So it's a nice little sub page, so you can see everything there. Ooh, we got a good question. Let's take a look. The question is, could we do like a motion second and resolution element of the data? Yes. Oh my goodness. So what I would do here, Alex, is I would use the reactions again. So for this decisions memo, what I would add for you is a little table up at the top. We're going to call this the table, and we'll call this Robert's Rules of Order for this meeting. And here, this could be the decision. Then we can have this be motion and second. And here, we'll call this pizza toppings. And then for the motion second, you could do one of 2 things. You could have, if people are there in the Coda doc with you, you could choose our good friend, the reaction, because I could say, yes, that's me. And now we've got it as a number, but we can, of course, like we saw under our reaction options, we could change that to be the people. So we can see that person's name there. And we could do the same thing with second. If not, what I would do is I would just have the motion in the second be a lookup column, right? Oh, I've been in several HOA meetings. Alex, I'm always looking. The last HOA meeting I was in, I actually was thinking about what would a Coda doc look like for this to get me through it faster. You could also just do motion and second and make this a lookup column to your people, right? So maybe I want to make it a column. We'll make it a lookup column to our team. I think we've got one in here. Attendance, right? And we can say, great, that was Maria. And then we can make this a lookup column. Boop, boop, boop. Column type, lookup, attendance to Alex. So that'd be another way. So if one person, if the secretary is documenting, it could be that lookup. Otherwise, if people are doing it themselves, you could do it with the reaction there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then you could go ahead and have this decision log filter by whatever the title is up here. So you could actually have each decision right there if you liked. Yeah. The other thing that I think is really important, and here, Alex, I'm thinking of whoever the secretary is for the Robert's Rules of Order, is you can actually then email out the notes. So maybe for the decision memo, we want to email out the notes. Well, what we can do is we can actually just use this handy little, we'll do /email a page, right? We've got a little meeting notes here. So you can actually email the addresses out. This is a more beefed up template, but let's go ahead and just show the smaller one. Which is email a page button, which is what we see here. Yeah, it's just a basic little template, which we love. But how this works is you put in the email addresses of everybody who should be there, right? So I could add the email and add another one. And then we have this little button that we can push. So I just right click. Notice it just says we're using Gmail. It's using my Gmail account. It's sending it to all the email addresses in that table. It's putting a subject line of saying notes from whatever today is. And then it's sending the content on this page. But we could have that be, instead of the email a page button page, we could say, you know what, I wanted to send the simple meeting notes page instead. And then I can go ahead and click that. It's going to email it out. Now, what my team does, because nobody wants to have to remember to push a button, is you can always just go up to your handy little automations and say, let's add a rule and say when, time-based, our meeting's at 11, so maybe at 1 o'clock, I want to send out the meeting information. Then I just want to push that button. Push the button. In this case, the button I want to do is the email this page. And then I can go ahead and have that automatically send out after the fact. So a way to kind of offboard that there. Good question. Do you typically use rules to auto send meeting notes, etc.? I'm psychic, David. Yeah. Here again, it really depends on the team. So my team, we actually do the rules because our team meetings system is very, very tight, right? It's always at a certain time. We have a very specific process for how we do everything. So having the button get pushed by a rule makes a lot of sense. But there are some teams that are like, I've been running the meeting. I want to wait until I've added a couple things to send it out. And that's something you could do there. But in general, I find the more built-in workflows we have, the easier it is for us to stay accountable to them. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Great question, David. Love it. Mic drop. Excellent. So the other thing that's in this particular page is we've got some handy little meeting templates that are located right here. And we've also got some further reading that you can do on any of this information as well. So lots of fun things in the starter kit, which again, let me just go ahead and grab that for you. I'm going to do copy and I'm going to do paste. And you can go ahead and grab a copy of that doc with all of the core things inside of it. Good question, David. One thing I'm deducting is the schema for recurring versus one-off may have some significantly different best practices. Here's what I would say. One-off meetings generally don't need as much rigor as a recurring meeting. A recurring meeting, you're going to want to think about how are we organizing the data? How are we putting this together? Because that's going to be the thing that grows. And once it starts growing, it'll be harder to make adjustments, right? So that's the one that needs more intentionality. If we think about product design, that would be, I'm getting ready for general availability versus a one-off meeting. Maybe we're just designing a prototype. You don't need as much rigor because you want to optimize for speed. So I think there's just a different level of intention there. Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally, David. Ooh, good question. Committee assignments. So Alex, for meetings here, if you're doing committee assignments, I would say, again, we want to think about, is this volunteer or is this not? If we're thinking about, I'm going to volunteer for committee assignments, I'm going to use, you guessed it, my good friend, the reaction button. So I'm going to say committee assignments, and I'm going to go table. Let's see if we have got a good reaction table. Nah, not really. So I'm going to do table, and we're going to make it a new one, which is the committees. This would be committee. This would be the pizza committee. This would be the pet all the puppies committee. And this would be the candy committee. Then what we could do here is we could do the reaction. So we're going to make our column type reaction. We're going to make it the people. And maybe I want to make it a hand raise. Let's see if we've got a good icon for that. We do. This one right here. So then people could go ahead and raise their hands and we can see everybody who is there. So that'd be a thought there for committee assignments. Yeah. Cool. Now, the other thing that I want to share with all of you when it comes to meetings is a new doc that my wonderful colleague Erin made, which is a team meeting audit. And it's 3 tests for an effective meeting. So I'm going to go ahead, copy and paste this over there into chat for all of you. There you go. And she worked with Shashir on this because it's Shashir's main idea in this case. So the 3 tests, and you just copy this doc. You can go ahead and make that happen. But the first part is the facilitator center. So here it's an idea of some facilitator guidelines, making sure you've got sort of the setup on this doc so that everything syncs appropriately. And then a little email template that you can use to invite people to join the audit. Then we actually have a meeting audit where people join. The balance test is kind of how much are we meeting? So we get percentages and then also our individual. So our team average and then individual. Then we have the flow, which is how much is our time interrupted. So here versus our own individual. And we see kind of the flow interruptions across the team and our free time. Then effectiveness, this is where we say, hey, how effective are our meetings? And we all score. Yeah. And we've got all that coming in here. And this just pulls directly from our Google Calendar, which is really fun. And then we have a full audit summary, which is all the things that are going on. So our total meeting time, how much time we spend, flow test, effectiveness, and our individual scores. And then here, part 2 is where we can take action. So defining our current meeting operating system, minimizing our ad hocs, finding our flow, driving effectiveness, and an action plan. So this is really cool. Because I think it allows for your team to really understand from the data of your Google Calendar, how are you doing? And some ideas then where you can go, okay, great. Because we want to minimize our ad hoc meetings, let's actually decide to use more of those kind of crowdsourcing options, or let's reflect a little bit differently, or let's cancel those different meetings. So really, really fun to be able to take that there. And you can actually choose, great, for all of these, this is cancelable. I'm ready for that to be okay. Yeah. So really fun doc to go ahead and take to your own teams there. It's fresh off the presses. And my team is actually in the process of doing it right now. So we'll see what meeting gets canceled for me. All right. Excellent. Ooh, good question, David. I'm curious how Coda points new hires to, here's all the docs we regularly use. So what we actually do is, let me go ahead, go to coda.io/gallery. And I'm going to search for new hire onboarding guide. It's a Coda doc. You're right. The thing about thinking about how does Coda do this, it's usually there's a Coda doc. So this one is actually inspired by how we onboard our new hires. So how it works is it's, first of all, the welcome. Then we've got a page for everything. Before your first day, all the things you need to be able to do. So your tasks, how to get lunch, your hours, right? We then have getting oriented. So how do you find your way around, right? How to set up your calendar, the mailing list, Slack and email, get our task list right here, right? Then we've got our team. So this is a breakdown of who we are, right? All the people, the team structure, getting to know us. Great, I've met with these people. Feedback, learning Coda. And then we also have part of our Coda doc that is just the docs that we use every day. And then individual teams also have their own Coda doc, right? So, hey, you're part of the marketing team with Maria. So here you go. This is our Coda team, our Coda doc for the marketing team. Go ahead and bookmark it. But yeah, so it's really mainly here in this new hire onboarding guide and then in our employee handbook. And then each team has their own kind of universe inside of a doc that's kind of a hub and spoke, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Got it. Can you show us an example of the docs we use part? Don't apologize for that at all. Yeah, let me find a good example here. It might actually be in another place for my own. Bum, bum, bum. Wayfinding. Yes. Okay, here we go. All right. So I'm actually going to stop sharing this screen and start sharing another one. All right, so we're going to share screen. All right. So, oh, that's actually not the one that I want. What I want instead is, here we go. All right. So I'm actually going to show you my team's wayfinding doc. So this is a subcommittee that I'm on here at Coda, which is all about how do we connect with our makers and celebrate them and all that good stuff. So here we are. This is the central part of the doc with all of our kind of meetings and all that stuff and the different work streams we have. And then under wayfinding, this is our key resources. And we've just created links and go links to each of these Coda docs. And then here's all the things that are in it. And if you have a question about it, this is who you should contact. So that would be my recommendation there. And if you wanted to get really fancy, you could add a button to open the hyperlink in the link area and not even have to click on the link. Yeah, let me know if that helps, David. Excellent. Secretly wishing you stumped me. You know, David, I get stumped all the time. And that's why I can't give people $5 if they stump me, because I would lose a lot of money. I am imperfect, but I spend a lot of time in Coda, so I usually can have a good place to at least start to understand a problem. Excellent. What other questions do you all have? We've got about 3 more minutes. Anything meetings and Coda related, fair game. I highly recommend to check out the meeting audit as well as the meetings starter kit. Both of those links are posted over there in chat. A great place to just use as your jumping off point. But what I would offer is start off with what your team's actual meeting problems are. What is getting in the way of being effective? What do people complain about? What's a struggle? Start there. You don't have to add all the things to your Coda doc right away. Of course, you'll get there. But remember, just by starting off with, let's just have a really easy place for people to log their questions. Or let's just have a really easy place for us to take notes where everybody knows they can go there and search them, right? That's going to be a big step. And if you have that one first win, it's going to be easier to get to the next one. So those are my recommendations there. And if you ever need help, you can always reach out to us at support@coda.io. We love to help people out. And I also highly recommend joining community.coda.io. Great place to hang out. Excellent. Well, we've got 2 more minutes. If there's anything else you need, let me know. Otherwise, take care. Have fun playing. And I'll see you in the next session. Tomorrow, we are doing a formula fitness exercise, all on the filter formula. So if you haven't explored filter formula yet, please join me. We're gonna have a bunch of different exercises. I'm gonna have a doc that all of you can use to play around. And honestly, if you learn no other formula, it should be filter. So definitely join us there if you like. Ooh, good question, David. Do you have insight how CS and sales do this for external meetings? These departments usually have third-party systems of record where the culture is to document meeting notes. Do they link docs instead? Sure. So for our CSMs, they usually create a Coda doc, which is a customer success plan. So let me actually pull up, I think they have published our template. Coda.io/gallery. Customer success plan. Here's the template. Great. So this is a template that was built by one of our CSMs. And what this is it's the kind of hub for all of that customer's conversation. So all the meeting notes with that customer, all that good stuff. You could then link that doc into a Salesforce profile or into a Coda CRM, right? All of those things are possible. But this way, it's like anytime I'm thinking about that customer, it's all right here. And then usually what those CSMs will do is they might be able to pull in that to sort of a larger task doc for all of their content, right? Doing a little bit of cross-doc action there. But the customer success plan is a great way to have all of that be in one spot. Mm-hmm. Yes, Neil, 7 a.m. Pacific tomorrow. We have to do our Europe-friendly time. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I believe we're doing another 4 o'clock time for our next week's session. I believe that's correct. You're so welcome, David. I hope that helps. Yeah, and we're always here to brainstorm. So if you've got a specific thing that you're trying to figure out, code you're trying to crack, just let us know. We've got lots of brains here ready and waiting to help out and support you. Nice. Any other questions, thoughts, concerns, emotional outbursts, ideas? I'm here for it. All right. Excellent. Well, it looks like questions have come to an end. Please do join us next week for our next use case topic, and tomorrow talking about filter formula. And we'll look forward to seeing you then. No worries, Neil. If you feel like staying up late, that's fine. Otherwise, take care. It's totally okay. We're living in that global world, but definitely feel free to send those questions ahead of time. You know how to do that. Cool. All right, y'all. Take care. I'll see you around the webinar town. Bye.